Yo, what's going on, guys? And of course, they've done it. Let's give a round of applause. I don't know why I said that. A round of applause to the Detroit basketball team. Detroit basketball. I thought that was too cringe. Either way, guys, it is a feat that not anyone would want to have for their franchise, but it's one that needs to be recognized for being done, which is what exactly we're doing today. And that is talking about the fact that this team right here, the Detroit basketball team, Pistons, under Trajan Langdon and JB Bickerstaff in the first year, took advantage of the black Luka Doncic, aka Cade Cunningham, a guy who's one of my favorite basketball players in the league ever since I was able to see him in person during the COVID year at KU when his OKC basketball team came into town. And that was one of the more fun games to see that season, as that wasn't a really pretty year to watch basketball. However, today we're going to talk about the fact that the Detroit basketball team is in the playoffs. And it's a team that if you're going to be going against them, good luck. They're gritty. They're tough. They play defense. And they're going to go at you for all 48 minutes. They got sharp shooting bomb and Malik Beasley. Malik Beasley not only is going to sharpshoot his way into any lead, but you better hide your moms. I kid. Now, besides that, Isaiah Stewart and even Jalen Duren has become a competent basketball player. I'm not saying he wasn't, but Jalen Duren's one of the few guys that I don't know if you guys have ever just watched his first couple years. There was a lot of head scratching plays, but now it's beautiful. Now, obviously, this is a league that's built on the promise of parity. And no other team has done what the 2024-25 Detroit Pistons were able to accomplish. After finishing the previous season with a brutal 14-68 record, the worst in franchise history, the Pistons now have made NBA history by qualifying for the playoffs the very next year. Yes, let that sink in. From a 17% win rate to a postseason berth. Shout out Monty Williams, baby. And Troy Weaver. This is all under first year GM Trajan Langdon, Alaska's greatest basketball player, arguably, and head coach JB Bickerstaff. Wait, isn't Carlos Boozer from Alaska? That's up for debate. I think highest drafted, we could say. And this isn't just a bounce back. It's a seismic leap. The 2023-24 Detroit basketball team was tied for the league's worst record, earning just 14 wins and ending with the 5th pick in the draft. How about those odds in the draft lottery? Combine both those words. But now, with a current record of 34 losses to only 43 wins. I said it backwards for dramatic effect. That's 77 games. 5 more to go. Crazy to think about that they could go from 14 games to almost 50 wins, sitting 5th in the Eastern Conference. They're holding a 55.8% win rate, and they jumped over 38 percentage points. The previous record for the worst team to reach the playoffs for the next year belonged to the 2014-15 Milwaukee Bucks that went from 15-67 to 41-41. But the Pistons just topped that, and with a winning record, no less. Now, how did they do this? I think the secret sauce, obviously, getting rid of Troy Weaver and Monty Williams and probably telling Dom Gore to shut the fuck up. They brought in a mix of smart coaching. JB Bickerstaff is a good coach. They reshaped the roster and finally gave Cade Cunningham some freaking shooting, for God's sakes. And they coached sound and fundamental basketball, which is what they needed. And I know this was a game against the Toronto Raptors. Tim Hardaway Jr., Dennis Schroeder, Simone Fontecchio, even Lindy Waters, Malik Beasley are all guys who, when Cade is healthy, he can delegate to them if he's getting double teamed or if he wants to take a freaking break. He has help. JB Bickerstaff obviously brought a system that is disciplined, built an identity around defense for Detroit. But Cade Cunningham, as I said earlier, is the black Luka Doncic. Fully healthy, 26 points, 9.5 assists, shooting nearly 46% from the field. Malik Beasley replaced Jaden Ivey, who was the original offensive spark, and he was able to help keep that going. And the rest of the guys that we mentioned earlier, plus Jalen Duren out there being just a vacuum for rebounds. The team's efficiency standpoint of their points per 100 possession, shout out Synergy. One of the best pick and roll teams with literally 1.01 points per possession. It's 83rd in percentile in pick and roll ball handling sets. It's beautiful. And in 2,000 possessions, well above league average, they're in those exact sets, 1.13 points per possession. PPP, we're going to say for the rest of the video. We're going to take a sip of water. And they're one of the best spot-up shooting teams in the league. They just hit so good. And then defensively, they aggressively attack closeouts. They grab rebounds, 42.2 per game, 5th best in the league. And just physically demoralize their opponent by imposing their will. When you get second chance point opportunities through rebounds and you get fast breaks, kick-started, able to score in transitions because of rebounds. It's demoralizing and makes your opponent feel weak against you. Bringing in a guy like Tobias Harris helps. Bringing in a guy like Dennis Schroeder helps. Asar Thompson's a freak, just like his brother. And it's the depth. It's real. You got leadership, too. Schroeder Harris. Asar Thompson making a defensive name for himself. Almost 2 steals a game. Transition player on both sides. I love Simone Fontecchio, and he's been getting some run lately. Marcus Sasser's another guy who can be a defender or a microwave off the bench. This team just runs deep. And JB Bickerstaff trusts his rotations, able to adjust when he needs to. Like, some could say if this all goes well, like he might have a more talented roster in 2-3 years than he did in Cleveland. No, make no mistake. What the Boston Celtics were able to do in 2008, if you guys didn't know, they went from 24 to 62 wins. The Spurs in 1997 to 98, they went 20 to 56. Those are legendary turnarounds. However, they traded or drafted future Hall of Famers in Kevin Garnett and Ray Allen and Tim Duncan being drafted while having David Robinson. That's not the same thing, for crying out loud. Detroit, they've done it with growth. Grit. I don't know why grit's coming out weird, but grit and good fundamentals. Yeah, they didn't add an MVP overnight. They didn't sign somebody. They didn't trade for them. Continuity, baby. They developed. They trusted. In this core, they stuck around. They worked. So this is the largest single season jump from the worst in the league to a playoff team with a running record. That's never happened before, not in the 75 plus years of NBA history. And the Pistons aren't done yet. They're currently 5th, and they could lock up home court advantage. They have a net rating of plus 2.3. They win consistently. It's not luck. The defense is legit. Cade Cunningham controls the pace. They got a good shot diet. They're efficient. They rank top 10 in true shooting as a team, assist rate, and defensive rebounding. Those are all traits that you want. Whether they go out in the first round or even go deep into the playoffs, I'm not going to say they're going to win a championship. The message is clear. Detroit basketball is back. And the rebound has turned into a revival. From 14 wins to playoff glory. This season has been authored into one of the most inspiring turnarounds in NBA history. It's not just about wins. It's about rewriting expectations, setting a new standard for how quickly a team can rise and what the culture is for the Detroit Pistons and what teams should look at, but what the Detroit Pistons fan base should expect moving forward. More than a comeback, it's a statement. Now, Obviously, if you made it this part, don't forget to subscribe. Drop your thoughts in the comments. This is the greatest turnaround of all time, or is it just the beginning of something bigger in Detroit? Are they contenders? Let me know.